everybody, and welcome to another Almost Adulting podcast. It's such a joy to keep coming back month after month with topics that are relevant, with conversations with real teenagers, and just bring about so much perspective on how we go about choosing things in life and, how we deal with everyday situations. So we're so glad to have you all join with us. And today we're going to be talking about some very interesting topics. We are going to be really want to cover what it is like to be studying in this era, what academics looks like, what does that look like in terms of pressure, what does that look like in terms of your grades, what does it look like in choosing a career, because most of you all within this age group we know are at that benchmark position of, okay, what am I supposed to choose? What kind of subjects do I take? What kind of colleges do I keep looking out for? And, there's so much of these conversations, but sometimes the elements of it do get missed out on. So that's the reason why we wanted to bring this topic up and just, talk about it and just get a conversation kick-started with all of you. And it's my joy, and it's such a privilege to have the very sweet Gia join us today. Gia has been with us, and she's been growing, and I know that especially this one area, a lot of times that we've even had conversations on, it's been something that has kept coming back in, and I've seen how beautifully you've been able to navigate through that. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
We're so happy to have you.
Me.
Such a joy to have you with us. So before we get kick-started on topics, on questions, is there anything that you would like to tell our viewers, tell the teens, the almost adults of your age? What's something that you would like to tell them?
I think I would encourage you all to actually believe in yourself. I think believing in yourself, especially since we're talking about, career and, just the education side of it. And I think, again, we were talking earlier, it really boils down to identity. And so I think if you don't believe in yourself enough, you're kind of lacking. You're lacking, and when there is a lack, there's, a lot of chances where you can go wrong.
Absolutely,
and you have a lot of regrets in life, and it's because you chose. You chose, and you can't blame anyone. Oh, they told me to do this, they told me to do that. So I think believe in yourself. Definitely believe in yourself.
Awesome. All right. So just to get questions up and running, Gia, just to understand what I know. See, we all come from homes, especially I think, where academics play such a very persistent role in what your life ahead looks like. I think we've all been brought up with this one statement that, you study, you have to work hard, all of that, which is true, by the way, no doubt about it. But how does that play out for you? How has that played out for you this many years? What's it like when you talk to your friends? Can you just give us a understanding of that?
So for me, I did Montessori, right? So it's very different from the traditional schooling that most kids my age have been through. So for me, it was why my parents even chose Montessori was it's more holistic, right? And you don't have like a timeline of every 2 months you have an exam, you gotta write an exam. Because now I'm hearing UKG students trying to pass tests, and I'm like, whoa, okay, because that was something that I never had to go through. And for me, I think the concept of tests and it didn't even have that much of importance in my school, right? So for me, my actual first exam would have probably been my 10th boards, which is kind of concerning. But I think throughout my journey, my 10 years, not having exams was a pro for me. Because now when I'm in actual mainstream education, trying to learn my 11th and 12th portions, it is different. It is different, not the portions that I used to cover in school. But I think it kind of gave me the bandwidth to expand. So it wasn't like, okay, you were used to this for so many years, and you're just like, oh, okay, I have to, push forward and somehow mug up stuff without actually understanding it. And so for me, Montessori helped in that way. I noticed that I was a lot more relaxed, and I think even in my first PUC, I had a lot of time to just explore my studying patterns. So it wasn't like, okay, you just got to read through the content, make sure it sits in your head, and go vomit it on the paper. Because again, there is where your approach comes in, right? And I'm like, okay, why am I studying? You want a marks card that has like good marks, and you want a job, you want to be able to fend for yourself. But what is the bigger picture of you studying? Because it's not stupid that they have like an education system set for everyone to do. It's ideal for everyone to do it. And so for me, I think Montessori did play a good role. And yeah, I think that's how it played out for me.
Wow. I think now that there's a lot more conversations, I think, for the younger children that definitely, we can see where they're talking about different syllabuses, different kinds of academic structures, all of that, which does make sense because looking back at it, if I'm going, just rewinding back 10, 15, 20 years, it still is, it's not that, especially in our education systems, we were given, okay, this is your curriculum, this is what you're supposed to learn, just like kind of put it out, like you said, you go back, you've got tests, you learn for the test, you go back, you vomit it out on the paper, you're back. And this is kind of the systems that we've been taught to be like. And it does play a very vital role, I think, because like how you very rightly started off by saying, it affects us in so many ways. It's not just about getting marks. If it just was about getting marks and it would end there, that would be a different story. But, I think a lot of times your childhood kind of gets lost in that, or even your teen years, even especially your 10th to 12th is like, okay, this is the place where you have to make decisions, and it's like everything revolves around those, which is important. Again, stating that to all of who's listening to us, that we're not talking about not studying, but there's a lot more. We want to answer the whys of why is it important to study, and kind of understand that a little more, because academics plays a huge role in how we look at even ourselves. Our marks play a huge role in how we look at ourselves, how people around us judge, and how the pressure that comes in from not just our parents but from schools and from all of these places that you have to be, because your identity and worth, and we've had that thread line in all of our podcasts where it comes back to this place of your identity and worth cannot be on these extra sources. So yeah, just let me know what you think about that.
So I was telling you about my Montessori experience, right? So as much as I said it was a pro earlier, I always thought it was a pro, right? And let's just say, I wouldn't say I was like the topper in my class. There were very few people in my class because, again, not a lot of people do Montessori. And so we were very close, and, again, friendships also do matter. That's still there. But I wouldn't say I was the brightest in my class, but teachers did know that I had the potential. And so that kind of fed into my pride a little bit. Okay, and this was like right before my 10th boards, right? And I'm like, it's okay. Gia can figure it out. Oh, it's not a big deal. And so that was my approach. Okay, and considering the fact that that was my first exam was concerning, but not for me that time. So I did write my exam. Waited for my result, the night of my result, right? I open it and I am like, oh, we were going to get excellent grades. I know I did a good job in the papers. I then see a grade that is, I'm like, was that really me? Because like my teacher said I had the potential. I also believed I had the potential, but it's not showing in the marks. And now my parents also was like taken aback. They're like, wait. I thought, you had the potential to do a little better than this. And I looked at my marks and I was like taken aback, and I'm like, these aren't my marks. you know. And for me, I think it was nice that time that I didn't accept it as my identity. Okay, so your mediocre marks is who you are.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
there, I'd say Montessori helped me. So
Yeah.
I wasn't like, in like that victim mindset, I got like such bad grades. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. Actually, it was fine. It was fine. You'd still get a seat. People would still consider
Yeah.
you. But for me, I was like, is that all? I definitely believe that there was more to it. And so that was my 10th grade experience. And then coming to 11th, right? So I saw my grades and I'm like, what can I do better in 11th grade? Knowing that, my syllabus wouldn't be the same. And for me, I was all set. Okay, we'll do commerce. We're going to study commerce, do commerce. Commerce is it, right? And again, did I seek the Lord in that? No. I didn't. And so I literally had proper ideas as to, okay, this is going to be the college, this is going to be the course.
Yeah.
Everything set. My parents agreed. I'm like fully sold. But then I didn't end up there. And it wasn't because of my marks.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm like, okay, wait, there is a greater something happening in the background. And I failed to understand that. And so when it came to my 11th and 12th, again, I ended up doing arts. And I'm like, why am I doing arts, right? And I knew there was like this one subject in my combination that I knew I had to study, right? And so I think in like 8th grade, I knew this was going to be it. But again, commerce just kicked in the way and, your direction just kind of changes. And I'm like, okay, wait, this is all leading back to that time where I knew this was what I was called to do. And so I was like, okay, this has some connections. I'm like, okay, let it unfold.
Yeah.
And I think I've learned a lot, especially in understanding myself the past 2 years. As much as, Montessori was there, it helped me. I think these 2 years, especially, from 10th, 11th and 12th, I still have my boards to go. But, it was a nice experience for me. I think I just had the ability to unfold areas of myself that I thought I was like too vulnerable or I couldn't open up. And I mean, my parents were there. My mom's like very supportive. And I can't tell that, they influenced my decisions or like there was a weight put on me that, oh, no, you have to do this, you have to pick this. For them, I think it was like, as long as you know what you're doing and you have a plan after it, we're sorted. Like, we're not going to push you into, doing something that you don't want to do. Because, like, again, your passion is like literally, or even if you don't get paid for doing it, you'd still do it.
Yeah.
Right? And it shouldn't, stem from, I just picked one course and this is all I'm limited to. That's why you kind of need to like have that awareness, access to information, and you're like, okay, these are the wide, options I have. I can pick from that. And, it's always like working backwards. Like, okay, if I want to see myself somewhere in like 5 years, what do I have to do from now to get there? Rather than, okay, 5 years I'll like, start off
Figure
with
it out.
it's okay. It's not, it never works. Because I had that approach and I was like, okay, I know my grades for me. See, again, this can be in like a totally different scenario for a person who's working. You can be like, okay, maybe I want to hike or, but like for me being a student, I was like, okay, you want to see your grades go up. You know who you are, not that you have to prove yourself by saying these are my grades. And, again, my 10th grade marks were, I couldn't stress on it more. And so it was a nice, rebound for me to shoot myself forward and go the right direction this time. And so I think I've kind of learned to push through, still stay there, learn the whys of, just showing up to class, doing your work, diligently just sit, do it. And I wouldn't say I didn't face a lot of difficulty in like learning stuff. I learned a language that I never knew, French. I'm used to studying Hindi. And it's crazy because I'm doing pretty well in that, and it's just like you see your other classmates, right, struggle with the same thing, and that's when it pinches you. right? Because like, what do you mean I am able to, you know, I know myself to an extent where I am able to flex myself in situations and actually grasp. And you see the potential in others and you're like, just if they could, you know, change their approach and be like, I can also do this. And I think it's very easy for people to just make it look like rocket science.
I think it also again comes back to a couple of things that we were talking about, where access to information, access to the right information, it does matter, because see, even in your place where you knew something, but then you streamlined into, you said, okay, I want to do commerce. There were voices, there was something in your environment that told you, hey, this is going to be better. And that happens to a lot of us. I think we all go through that phase. I think, like, you know, wherein as a first grader you would want to be a pilot or an air hostess, or you wanted to, you know, do what looked fancy, and then, you know, as you keep growing, you know, all of those kind of things change. And especially in a day and age where we are at, where information is in abundance, you know, like it's an ocean out there. But having the right voices to guide you in terms of, see, when we talk about academics, everyone's wired very differently and very, it's now, I think, where education systems have slowly started picking up on, hey, we need to hone children's strengths, we need to hone that's more important than just focusing on them just coming in, mugging up and getting a certain grade. It is coming in, it's a very slow and steady progress, but we're getting there. But we're talking to generations where that is not necessarily the case. We're talking to, you know, people who've had to really struggle to kind of, you know, get through grades after grades and, you know, getting through all of that. I want to just know, like, you know, being very vulnerable, how had, I know that you did mention that, did it affect you? It did, but also at the same time, how did that affect you in terms of your emotional capacity, or the way that, you know, just by my grades, I kind of defined and said, okay, I really don't think I'm cut out for this kind of a job. I might need to do something else. Did that instance ever occur to you?
Again, I told you I was set up on commerce, and I think that madness hit me in 10th grade. Because, you know, the board I did, we had to pick our subjects. So I was like, okay, science, I know I'm not cut off to do science. Okay, I was like, not that I didn't study science before, but I was like, wait, do I really want to be doing this? And I knew it wasn't for me. No offense to the ones who studied science, but for me, it wasn't it. And I was like, okay, I commerce was it, didn't work out, did it with arts. And yes, there have been times where I've just like, okay, whoa, I've what do you mean I could have, like, you know, had 2 more marks to getting, you know, an out on a paper. And, you know, it pinches you. It definitely pinches me to look at, oh, if I had just studied for like just a little longer, I would have gotten it. And that was me in my first PUC. Okay, I was like, in fact, I think before starting my academic year and when I just got into college, I was out having lunch with my dad, and my dad's like, okay, how are you gonna score this year? So what do you, and that is with reference to how bad I did in my 10th. Okay, so I knew he didn't mean it in that way, but you kind of pick up on the things, right? And I was like, okay, I'll score 95. Again, my pride again kicked in, spiked in. I was like, okay, no, Jia, do you think you're actually going to figure yourself out that quick enough to get that result? And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to just say 90 above. Expect it. And for me, it started off as a challenge. Oh, I need to prove my dad. I can, you know, push through. I can learn. That was me, I think, in the first 6 months. He came to my midterms. And then I realized a few subjects needed more attention. Or else there's no way I'm hitting the 90 mark. So I ensured, I said, okay, somewhere in my journey of like scoring that 90 or that just a little bit above 90 to prove, oh, I said 90, but see, I got above 90 also, you know. So I was like, okay, why are you doing this? Right? And my dad would have just been like, so how much do you think you're scoring? Well, that's how he meant it. But for me to just, you know, come out so rightly and just be like, 90 above. So I don't know with what confidence I said it then, but then again it unlocked so many sides of me that were kept shut for a really long time. I understood how I cope with class, how I cope with people in my class, and I was exposed to a lot of drama. Okay, and it took a toll on my emotions as well. That's where I mentioned earlier the friends part of. I'm like, with all of this on your head, you still have to study, right? And then so there were times where I just sat with God and I'm like, God, why am I even doing this? Like, I would be so much more happier if I just have to come to church and just I might as well just be here. That's all there is. Why am I even studying? Okay, like that's the extent I even went to, and I think even deeper. And I'm like, it's nice because I knew God was patiently just sitting and listening to me rant about all of this.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I did go through my am I hearing God? Am I actually understanding what He thinks of what I'm going through? And it was nice, right before my final exams kicked in, I felt a sense of assurance that I've never felt. Okay, and I knew it wasn't coming from me and me hyping myself up to be like, Jia, you got this. You're gonna do well.
Yeah.
And I knew it was the Lord. I knew it was a lot. And so, again, see, I definitely got above 90. So again, I think your past experiences with not just, your immediate circle and all, it definitely springs up in times where you need to show your worth.
The reason why we were talking about this is because I do know, like, where there have been so many people that I've spoken to, there have been so many people that I've come through, where I've seen that this plays such a, it's like a make or break moment. Now, in your case, you were able to kind of like, go through the motions and, get out of it. But I do know places where I don't know, if these kind of places still do exist, where I've had friends of mine sitting in classes like this where they were even made to sit according to their marks. Like, so the first rankers would get to sit like in the first row, and the people who would score less. So it affects people in such a way mentally and emotionally, and there are stories and stories of how different systems work like this. It comes from the heart of, okay, we put in that spirit of competition, and that will kind of spark these kids to study better, and all of those things. But somewhere along the line, we lose the element of what it is to study. We lose the element of why is this important. And I know we're circling back around to those things, because is academics important? 100%. There's a reason why, God's created school, God's created structures to bring about those kind of, foundational teachings, foundational principles that do help you go, along the way. But at the same time, I think, if I'm looking back at my life, I can definitely say that I was blessed with the right sources of people, especially the right mentors during that phase where, when it came into whether it was choosing your stream, whether it was into choosing your career, all of those things. Sometimes we might not even, I know so many people who will study for so many years and then we end up doing something totally different in our careers, and that's okay. We can definitely have, I know we are moving very ahead where we're no longer, I think we're moving into a generation where we're not just worried about a 9-to-5 job. We're looking at a lot more flexibility, a lot more creativity, a lot more bringing out of who we are, and being able to express ourselves. And information out there is giving us a lot of that, actually speaking. But at the same time, it's so important to know that I think in our day back, there was only two. You either become an engineer or you become a doctor, or I think that's toned down a lot when it comes to you guys, where you guys have a little more freedom and liberty to go between things. So everybody's marks were graded on that, all those kind of things. But that being said, having the right voices to kind of pull out or call out. See, because I feel we're in this phase where we're trying to explore and we're trying to understand who we really are. And I still remember, I will not forget what my journey was like, because I've had mentors at that time tell me, okay, hey, this is your strength. Okay. And I would I remember when we used to have like these classes where we would go through different careers and choosing, where they literally would ask us to, I had one of my mentors where he made me write A to Z, like there were like more than 10 career options that I had. And he's like, okay, now you tell me, where do you fit in? Like, based on yours, what do you know about yourself? And, I had everything from, I think, being a baker to all the way becoming a CA to, I had like all the career options that I could think of that I would. And then I slowly started analyzing, hey, what are my strengths? What are the things that, make sense to me? Because it's not just about doing a job. It's not just about, and that's where we get it wrong. And that's where many times, we're in this loop and this cycle of, okay, do your academics, work well, you get good grades, you get into a good college, and you get into a good college, and then because you score well there, you get in for a good job, and then that was the mindset many years ago, which is not wrong, but at the same time, all we're doing is we're being in a big loop. Yeah. And many times I remember that what these limitations, it does for a lot of kids. And now when we talk to them as adults, we realize, okay, hey, that was a limitation, or that was a setback where it affected them mentally, it affected their identity, it affected, where teachers would name call, or teachers would be like, oh, you're good for nothing, you don't know how to do stuff, which is definitely, not the trend right now, but we still do see kids who are struggling with this area. I've had instances where we've had kids struggle all the way to 12th to somehow just ace it and just pass that exam. And the moment you put them in the right course, with the right, you kind of see where, okay, I've had someone in my family also where they struggled all till 12th, and like, pushing, but we saw strengths. We're like, okay, hey, you're good with tech, you're good with this, you seem to have a very creative eye, you catch on all of those things, and find something where that person could flourish in that. And we saw day and night difference happen in how that person did in his career, because what we were doing at that time is you're calling out strengths, you're pulling out things that matter, you're looking at a person and saying, hey, you're called for something, you're greater than just a grade on a paper, and that is what is important. I think one of the things that even to parents who are watching us, or to anyone, where it's so important at that age where they're being formed, to be able to pick up on strengths, that because every person is unique. So every child is unique in that manner, and we don't want academics to be the benchmark that kind of defines them and tells them, okay, this is who you're going to be in life. Study, yes, you have to. Again, nobody's allowed to use this and say that not to go study. That's not the intention. But we want to be able to say this, where your choices should be based on this, should be based on strengths, should be based on. I remember going to my mentors in that season, and I'm so grateful. I always thank the Lord for giving those voices there, because the kind of things that the kind of exercises that were done, where, whether it was milestones in my life, whether it was memories, everywhere you could see a thread where there was always a connection to do with people. There was always a connection to work with children. There was always a connection of, all of my most happy moments were something where I was doing something in, within this territory. And did God use that? Oh, 100%. Did God expand my faith to know what kind of colleges? All of those things, yes, absolutely it did. Choosing the right colleges. But at that time, that information was so pivotal. Like, I look back and I can say that I do not regret any of those steps that I made, because I had access to that. And that matters a lot. Like, it's that there's a phase where you see, okay, everybody who takes science will go down this stream, everybody who takes computers goes down engineering, everybody who takes commerce goes down but we break out of those patterns because we're in a world where creativity is in abundance. What would take us maybe now with AI coming in, we've got things that used to take months to be done being done in minutes. Yeah. And that's the speed at which we're growing. And looking at you guys, I know that your capacity is unlimited in that way. You're not stuck to, okay, I need to have a job that just says this. It has to be more than that. For that, it's finding a lot to do with your calling, a lot to do with, you being able to find those core of who you are and why do you want to do what you do.
Exactly.
Yeah, it comes back to a lot of those questions where I do this, okay, hey, I know that if I'm able to establish this, one, is it coming back to a space where I'm really being me and being all that God has created me to be? Yeah. I think that goes like a long way. What do you have to say on those lines?
I think when you're comparing what you're studying and your calling and what God's just, called you to be, for you to unlock that side of you that is 100% sure that, God wants me to do this.
Yeah.
And, talking back on the strengths and all, God's given them to you. And it's just, a matter of time till you realize that you have it and you're like, wait, I'm doing pretty good at this area. And that's when I think almost majority of your self-doubt just goes away. Because, I would have just been one of the students in my class being like, wait, I don't even know what I'm going to do, but they know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And, there's so much worry that kicks in and you're like, should I be worried that I don't know what I want to do?
Yeah.
Because I think it's always been there for, especially, when you're trying to finish your 10th, start picking up, an actual combination where you're like, this matters for my degree and then my master's and then actually working. And it's crazy how just time flies by so quickly, right? And you're like, what do you mean? I'm almost done with, PUC also. And so I think when you're comparing your strengths to, God's calling over your life, it's just you hearing God.
Yeah.
And, for you to hear God, you need to pursue Him intentionally.
Yeah.
Like, you can't be slack here thinking, I have to study for this test right now. God, just 2 minutes, I'll be back. Doesn't work. That was me. I've done it an awful lot of times, right? And am I proud of it? Probably not. But I think doing that is what makes it so very important at one time.
Yeah.
Because, then you have like a lot of instances for you to just look back and be like, wait, I chose to do something else but stay in the presence of the Lord.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, God, that pushes me even more to just, come and do it now more than I ever have before.
Absolutely.
Right? And oh, trust me, the presence of the Lord just in your environment before you start studying is it's a different feeling. It's a different sight. You're just you feel like you could have just had like a heated argument with someone, and when you just like, God, take control. Take a step back. It's not me, it's you. And since you're studying, I think I've made things about me. And I think it cost me a few relationships as well. But again, I when I look back, I'm like, oh, was that a really nice thing to do? But you're just in like under the influence of like different things, and you're like, okay, I have let access for so many different things, but what am I going to do with it now? You still have the chance to, you have a lot of time. You have a lot of time. And you're just like forced to thinking that, oh, I am so very limited and, I can grow. I think it just boils down to, let's just grow.
Yeah. So I think that kind of brings us to what, we want to boil that down to, and being that having the right voices, having the right sources, and pursuing God even in the midst of that, even while you're studying and all of that, it does play a huge role in how you choose and how your life is ahead. But so thank you so much, Gia, for taking time to
Thank you
bring
for
this
having
together.
me.
It's such a joy. And to all of you all who are watching, thank you so much for taking time to listen to us, and we will meet you all again next month. God bless.